Hi everyone, my name is Nona, I'm your guide for today, and over here is Scott, he's going to be your assistant guide. So we're really excited to take you guys out today on a canoe picnic around Hay Lake, and just before we leave we just need to go over some really important safety things. So it would be really great if you guys could give me your full attention for that time, seeing as this not only concerns your safety but that of everyone in the group. And the safer we are today, the more fun we can have overall. So our itinerary for the day, as you know, we're going to be doing an hour-long paddle to our lunch spot. We're going to be eating lunch. We're going to take some hikes around the back trails around that lunch spot, which are really nice. And then we're going to paddle another hour back, and that's going to be our picnic. So it's a pretty nice leisurely route. We are on Hay Lake right now, which is a really great lake for paddling, fishing, swimming, you name it. But as any lake has in this season, there are some inherent dangers here that we're going to have to talk about and just make sure we know what to do if we find ourselves in an unexpected situation. So it's late May, so it's pretty cold still in the water. The snow didn't melt too long ago. So we're going to try to avoid discomfort and hypothermia by staying out of the water at all costs. So that means staying warm and dry. So we are blessed with a beautiful sunny day, and it's supposed to stay that way, but weather around this area can be very unpredictable. So rain can sweep in at any point. So just make sure your rain gear is accessible so that you can take it out at any time. Also, if a thunderstorm rolls in, we'll be staying off the water for 20 minutes, after any sign of thunder or lightning. So that's a hard rule that we have. In terms of the water conditions today, we're lucky that it's calm. But if the wind does pick up, we're going to be paddling either with the wind directly in front of us or the wind directly behind us. And the reason that we don't want the wind coming over the side of our canoe is it makes us more prone to tipping, and it makes everything more unstable. So we're going to be guiding you guys through that. We'll be leading you where we're going, but just so you know, we're going to stay with the wind behind or in front of us in the case of heavy wind. In terms of our group, we're a small group. We can stay pretty tight. It shouldn't be too hard, we just have a few canoes, but we're going to try to stay within talking distance of each other. So it's important that we can communicate. We've already gone over some basic, signs. If something went wrong, if you need help. This classic sign, does everybody remember that from yesterday? Awesome, and this sign means I'm okay. So one more time, I need help, I'm okay. So we'll use those if we happen to accidentally get separated. On our hike, there aren't very many hazards that you guys don't already know about from regular hikes, just rocks and roots. We're going to be looking where we're going and just be conscious of our surroundings. In terms of the level of fitness on this trip, it's not particularly high, but it is a physical activity. So we're paddling 2 1-hour stretches. The more canoe experience that you have, the easier it will be. But after yesterday's lesson, I'm feeling good about your skills. I think that you guys are prepared to do this. But if you guys need any refreshers on any of the skills, please let either Scott or I know, because we have no problem going over it. We can even do a little 5-10 minute refresher before we take off if that's what's needed, no problem. And our hike is going to be on fairly flat ground, so that shouldn't be too hard fitness-wise. In terms of the hike, if anybody decides come lunch that they're just not up for a hike, that's totally fine. Scott can stay back with a group of people to relax during that time, and some people can go off and hike if that's what you guys want to do, so that's no problem. So in the case that somebody does fall in the water, doesn't happen often, but it could happen. We all practiced that canoe over canoe rescue yesterday, so that's what we'll be implementing in that case. Usually whoever's closest is going to start that response because we want a nice quick response, but Scott and I will be jumping in as soon as we can get to the site to help out and to lead that. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing if somebody falls in the water, and right after getting them out of the water, we're going to be getting them to shore as soon as possible and getting them into warm and dry clothes, and Scott and I have spare clothes just in case that were to happen, and then we'll deal with the situation from there, just depending on if they're cold, if there are signs of hypothermia and things like that. So we'll take that to the next step if we feel that we need to. And if somebody gets lost during our hike, it shouldn't happen, we'll all be together, but if it does, stay where you are, stop walking, Stay warm and blow your whistle, and we will come find you. So you don't need to keep walking to look for us. We'll come find you. Just to avoid that from happening, though, stay on the trail, stay with the group. If you go off alone, please tell us, and always go with a buddy, okay? In terms of equipment, we went over everything yesterday, but the big important one I'm just going to stress again is the life jacket. So we all have our life jackets on. We're going to be wearing them on the water at all times. We always do. We're going to make sure that all of our buckles and zippers are done up nice and secure. And then we're going to make sure that our life jackets are tight enough. And we'll do a quick check before we leave, but how I like to test that, my life jacket's all nice and secured and fastened. So I just like to pull up on my straps, and if I feel that tension pulling up on my chest and my torso, I know that it's tight enough. We just want to make sure that our gear is nice and effective, right? No point wearing a life jacket if it's not going to work. So we'll just go around and check that for everybody, but make sure all buckles are fastened, straps are tight enough so that you can still breathe, obviously. Do that nice pull test, and if you feel your torso and chest going up with the life jacket, you're probably pretty good, but we'll go around and check that over. In terms of the canoes, as we know, they're pretty stable, but they can be unpredictable sometimes, so because of that, we will not be standing. Stay seated, centered, and low in your canoe at all times, and do your best not to hit other boats, of course. So we've inspected all of the gear, but if you see something that concerns you, or if you're having a problem with something, please don't hesitate to bring it up, because we would love to know, and we'll address that problem as soon as possible. And that goes for any problem or incident that you come across on this little excursion we have. Please don't hesitate to bring anything up to Scott or I. So in case of an emergency, I have a cell phone in the top of my bag. It is working and it's on at full battery. Scott also has an inReach in the top of his bag, along with the first aid kit and all of our first aid supplies, okay? The cell phone's on. It works like any other cell phone. The inReach just needs to be powered on, so you just press the power button on the side, and then to call 911, you just press the red button and hold it down, okay? That's how it works. Our lunch spot is a 15-minute walk to the road on the center trail, and our whole paddle will be close to shore, so our evac route is onto land, and then there are cottages and roads lining pretty much the entire periphery of the lake. In terms of a less serious injury or incident, if we need to get someone back, we'll be paddling back the way that we came to the lodge. The person in question, injured, or who needs to be evac'd, will come with me. The person who is paddling with them will go with Scott, and we'll leave Scott's canoe ashore, and we'll come back and get it later. So you guys won't have to worry about that. But worst case scenario, if Scott or I cannot get to our inReach or our cell phone, you know where they are, and use them if they need to be used. But just to settle everyone's mind, Scott and I have our wilderness first responder. We're trained to deal with these situations until help arrives, okay? So you've all signed a waiver. You know the contents, you've read it, we've talked about it, but if you have any further questions, now's a good time to ask about them. We also have all of your health forms. Luckily, we have a group that seems pretty healthy with no pressing health issues, but if there's anything you forgot, it's no problem. We just need to know before we leave, okay? So in terms of behavior, obviously no drug or alcohol during our trip or beforehand. That's a hard no for us. Make sure to stay mindful of others and always exhibit respectful behavior, as you all know and as you all have been doing. And just double check your gear list before we leave. Make sure you have it all. Check again. And I'm going to stress the rain gear, sunscreen, extra water, snacks, medications you might need. And I always go for a sun hat when I'm on the water because it's much easier to burn when you're out on the water in the middle of the day. Alright guys, well thank you guys for listening so intently. Really appreciate it. Please keep everything that we've talked about in mind, and if we all can do that, I know we're going to have a really amazing time. Is everybody clear on all of that safety information? No questions? Are there any additional questions at all? Okay, well if at any point before we leave or during our tour you do have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We are happy to answer them. Okay? Alright, let's get going.